Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Con all praises. Con all praises, man. We couldn't get it going on our main channel, but we in this thing, man. We in this thing, man. Be like that. All right, come. We can go ahead and get it cracking. Let's kick it off with. Can you go to 2 Kings chapter 17, Baba Kasha? Kind. All right. First and foremost, all praises, all honor, and all glory go to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Shalom to everybody that's viewing. We got Nazar, Captain Jeremiah. Shalom to everybody else that's viewing. To the people that's going to tune in here in a minute. We know that we're getting started on our backup page, but we got to get the ball rolling, man. God, so let's kick it off with a little bit of background to how this started. So everyone should know that we were slaves in Egypt. The Most High God delivered us from that captivity and from that bondage. The next major captivity that the Israelites was in bondage in was by Shalmaneser, and Shalmaneser was the king of Assyria. And you can find the accounts of when that kicked off in 2 Kings chapter 17. So I want to make a quick disclaimer. Every time someone thinks of Gentiles, they immediately think of people who are not Israelites. But that is not 100% true, because Israelites are also known as Gentiles throughout the scriptures. And of course, we have a handful of scriptures that we're going to go through tonight. I want to grab a quick one. I love the one in 1 Corinthians, but I want to grab this other one in Ezra, or in Esdras, 2nd Esdras, where he called us, what do you call this gang? Heathens?
Yeah.
It's been a minute since I pulled this one.
Yeah, it's 2nd Esdras 2:33.
God, are you there?
Yeah.
God, go ahead.
Kind. It says, can you hear my TV in the background?
I cannot.
All right, cool. This is 2nd Esdras chapter 2 and verse 33. It says, I, Esdras, received a charge of the Lord upon the Mount Horeb, that I should go unto Israel. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught, and despised the commandment of the Lord.
Now we got to pinpoint that. He said he was in the mountain. He came and he was talking to Israel, or he was supposed to go talk to Israel. But when he came unto them, they set him at naught and despised the commandment of the Lord. So we got to make sure we know who the audience is. The audience is the Israelites, but the Israelites refused to hearken to the commandments of the Lord. Now that we got that established, let's read verse 34.
Verse 34, and therefore I say unto you, O ye heathen, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd. He shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand, that shall come in the end of the world.
And that's a fire future prophecy right there too. But as you can see, he said he was talking to the Israelites, but then he turned around and called the same Israelites heathens. He said, "Oh ye heathen." Why? Because heathens don't keep the commandments. Now the Israelites, they set at naught the commandments, meaning they didn't want to keep the commandments. So basically, they was no better than heathen. So he referenced the Israelites to heathens. Let's go to Psalms. I'm gonna grab it. Psalms. Let me see. It's been a minute. Psalms. Is it 136? 106. Yeah, Psalms 106. Okay. Psalms 106 and 34. Psalms 106 and 34 says, they did not destroy the nations concerning who the Lord commanded them. So when we was given the promised land, we were supposed to utterly destroy all of the nations that was in that land, because if we didn't, they would become a stumbling block and we end up serving their gods. So everyone should be familiar with this. We did not do what the Lord commanded us. We did not destroy all of the Hamitic nations. We didn't destroy the Canaanites utterly. We didn't destroy all of the we didn't destroy everybody. You know, as you know, King David, he was fighting with the Philistines. We always had heathens in certain parts of our land. It says, so we didn't destroy all of them. Verse 35 says, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. So we actually was mingled among the heathen, and we ended up learning their works, doing the things that they did, serving their gods. You know, it says, yea, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils, and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. Thus were they defiled with their own works, and went a whoring with their own inventions. Therefore was the wrath of the Lord kindled against his people, and so much that he abhorred his own inheritance, and he gave them into the hand of the heathen, and they that hated them ruled over them. Their enemies also oppressed them, and they were brought into subjection under their hand. So, with reading this little bit of this passage, you get clarity on a few things. You get clarity that we were mingled among the heathen, and we started to move like heathen. We started to serve their gods, you know, the Canaanite nations. It also says that the Lord was wroth against us. He was angry with us, and we was delivered to the heathen, and they ruled over us. So that's a lot of information, and it's very, very, very critical in understanding um, the whole Bible in totality, because there's a lot of things in here that can be easily looked over in the Book of Kings. Um, like we just went to Esdras, like we just went through in the 106th chapter of Psalms. These are key scriptures, and you have to get certain understanding before you can actually, you know, go into Paul's letters. Because if you don't understand the basics of the scriptures, and you don't have a solid foundation, and you try to read these letters, then it's going to be tough understanding who the Gentiles are or who salvation is for, you know. So, Officer Aaron, you got anything?
God, I got a couple precepts before we get into the northern kingdom. I
Not a
think that's
problem.
where you headed. But Con, this is Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. Deuteronomy 28 and 64, it says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people. I'm read that again. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So, right here, the Lord tells us, it's in the curses. He tells us that if we break the laws, statutes, commandments, that He will scatter us among all people, not just, over there in West Africa. We were just gonna be there, or we was all just gonna come to the United States. We were just gonna come to the daughter of Babylon. No, we would go unto all people. That's why you see Christ in the New Testament saying, go preach the gospel unto all nations. Why is he saying that? Because we're scattered unto all nations. That's where we are. That's where our people are. But in doing so, we would become heathen. We will become as heathen. And this is, I got a precept. This is Ezekiel 20 and 32. And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone. These scriptures go hand in hand. We said that we would be as the heathen. Now, what do they say in the world? It's a worldly proverb. If it If it walk like a duck and talk like a duck, it's a duck. And that's kind of how we went, and kind of how we still go today. If a man dressed like dressed like he's Asian, he acts like he's Asian, he speaks the Asian language. Well, damn, that's Asian. I'm not finna argue with him. He keep their customs, he keep their heritage. That's Asian. That's the same thing how it went back in the day. If you followed after certain gods and followed the ways of these other nations, you would become a heathen unto Israel. But that's all I'm gonna bring out so far right now.
Con. Another worldly saying, well, that whole truth and there's wisdom behind it. You bring out that if it walk like a duck, talk like a duck, look like a duck, it's a duck. Another one is if you around 6 rich men, you're gonna be the 7th rich man. And if you're around 6 crackheads, you're gonna be the 7th crackhead. If you around 6, let's say a whole nation of heathens, look, you're gonna be the next heathen. If that makes sense.
Hey, birds of a feather flock together.
That's the truth. That's the truth. It's a precept that I want to grab in Sirach. I want to say it's chapter 13. It tell you that I want to grab it real quick. I don't really want to quote it. Let's see, real quick. They're gonna seek to their kind. Let's see. Man, I feel like I put it in my precepts, but I gotta check my little Bible app because I highlighted it. I was supposed to memorize it. I want to say it's chapter 13, but let's see. I sent it to you, King, not too long ago, and you was like, that's fire. Let me check. Ain't nothing deep.
You said it's in Sirach, what, 13?
Think.
Quote it if you got it. You got that quote?
It says, like basically you like according to your kind, something like that.
Verse 16.
13 and 16.
Yeah.
Well, okay, kind. All praises.
You can start at 15. That's a pretty good start.
Kind. Sorry, 13 and 15 says, every beast loveth his like, and every man loveth his neighbor. All flesh consorteth according to kind, and a man will cleave to his like. So you don't see ants, kicking it with ladybugs. You don't see eagles or hawks kicking it with other, we're different bird with ducks. You don't see, that's just the nature of flesh. And you see majority of the time people chilling with people that they can relate to. Let's keep reading. It says, what fellowship have the wolf with the lamb, so the sinner with the ungodly? And you don't see wolves kicking it with sheep. You see a wolf with other wolves in a pack. You see hyenas with a pack of hyenas. You don't see them chilling with, their enemies. It says, and it also says the sinner with the ungodly. So likewise, the same thing. What agreement is there between the hyena and a dog? And what peace between the rich and the poor? As the wild ass is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor. So I kind of wanted to use the scripture to substantiate the same claim that we made earlier about people being in a group with other like-minded people. So that's kind of where I was going with that. It's a fire precept, so I gotta remember that. It's all right, 13 and 15. You got anything?
Mm-mm.
All right, Khan. So let's go to 2 Kings 17.
17, where you want me to start?
Start at verse 1.
God, this is 2 Kings, chapter 17, verse 1. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became a servant and gave him presents.
So Shalmaneser came up, and we was forced to be put under tribute under the king of Assyria, who is Shalmaneser at this time. Let's jump down to verse. Now we can keep reading. Keep reading, Baba Kasha.
Verse 4. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he hath sent messengers to So king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up, and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up through all the land, and went up to Samaria, and besieged it 3 years.
Gone. So now he found some conspiracy, Hoshea the king, and then he went up to make some shake. He started besieging the land because he's for the take over the northern kingdom. Let's keep reading. Let's see. Yeah, you can read verse 6, Baba Kasha.
In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria, Salakia. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria, and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah, and in the harbor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes.
Khan. So this is the reason why we have to take this. We have to go back to Kings and take a look at this account. Everyone knows about Egypt. Everyone know, for the most part, even your average Christian, he knows that the Israelites were slaves in Egypt, and he knows about Moses parting the Red Sea and getting them and putting them in a wilderness for 40 years, and then eventually, Joshua is leading them to the promised land. A lot of people know that, but it kind of starts drawing blanks whenever you start talking about Shalmaneser. This is the next major captivity of our people. But it's something crazy that happened. Everyone didn't go into this captivity. Let's jump down to verse 18.
Verse 18. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
So he let you know that everyone was removed out of his sight except the tribe of Judah only. Now everyone should be aware that in each town or city in our land, we had suburbs for certain people. Now when it says Judah, it's referring to Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, of course, because we had Levites there. So I just wanted to make a disclaimer. It's not only Judah. Now let's jump down to verse 23 real quick, unless you got something.
No, we can jump down.
Okay, kind of all praises.
Verse 23. Until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said, by all his servants the prophets, so was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day.
So now we have something established. Some of our people went into captivity by Shalmaneser, right? Let's go to Hosea real quick. It's on my spirit to go to Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10. And I'll get Romans chapter 9. Sound good?
Let me get this one quick precept in Sirach real quick.
Okay.
This is so a lot of people may be wondering, why is there a split in Israel? Why is there a difference between Judah and Israel? Why do they only take Israel? I thought Judah was a part of Israel, so on and so forth. This is Sirach chapter 47, just to get to the point, verse 21. I'm gonna start at verse So like I'm gonna start at 19. I mean at 13. Then I'm gonna jump down. It says, so Solomon reigned in a peaceable time and was honored, for God made all quiet round about him, that he might build an house in his name and prepare his sanctuary forever. So the context is Solomon. I'm gonna jump down to verse 19. It says, thou didst bow thy loins unto women, and by thy body thou wast brought into subjection. Thou didst stain thine honor and pollute thy seed, so that thou broughtest wrath upon thy children, and was grieved for thy folly. So what had happened was Solomon literally had 1,000 women. I believe he had like 400 wives and like 600 something concubines. It was something like that. But he had taken daughters of the nation that the Lord had said not to. He was taking heathen women. He was taking women of Canaan, which we know we're not supposed to do, so on and so forth. And they led him astray, to which he was starting to build temples unto their gods and going into idolatry, so on and so forth. So for that, the Lord had already warned him. I believe it's in Samuel. It's in Second Samuel. What is it? Second Samuel something, ain't it?
What you talking about?
Solomon, where he went off.
Kings chapter 11.
Second Kings.
I always
Kings
think
sound right. Kings sound right.
It's First Kings, yeah.
Con. So in Kings, the Most High had already warned him that if he was to do something like that he would rend the nation into two. So I'm gonna keep reading. Sirach 47 and 21. So the kingdom was divided, and out of Ephraim ruled a rebellious kingdom. Ephraim is the head tribe of the northern kingdom. Basically, Captain City in the background. Ephraim is the head tribe of the northern kingdom over Zebulun, Naphtali, Ephraim, Asher, Issachar, so on and so forth. But like Officer Mahar already said, we had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. The rest of the people got carried away into Assyria. So that's why it was a split, because Solomon had went off. So they had got split up, went to Assyria. So they had their own kings a little bit before they went to Assyria, and then they got taken away. And we had our own kings, so on and so forth, until we got taken away in a certain captivity, so on and so forth. But you said you wanted to get into that Hosea?
Yes.
Okay. The reason why we bring this out is because this pertains to that curse that's scattered, that Deuteronomy 28:64. This pertains to that. This plays a big role. A lot of people don't know how the kingdom was split. A lot of people don't know that the kingdom was split. A lot of people don't know that Israel was scattered abroad, so on and so forth. So we have to bring these things out, because when the gospel was preached, it was a very small remnant of the southern kingdom, even in Jerusalem. Most of them had already been carried away. Mostly all of them was carried away. They wasn't there. So that's what, Christ hit the scene for. But which one you want first? Romans 9 or Hosea?
I'm gonna get the Romans first.
God.
Romans chapter 9. Let's see. Verse 24. I'll start at 24. It says, hey, this is important. This is important. This is going to be really critical point. If you don't know who the Gentiles are, you don't understand this. Like, this is a critical piece of information for you to actually grasp this lesson. So pay attention. Romans chapter 9, verse 24 says, even us whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. So a lot of people would be like, okay, so he called the Israelites, not only them, but he called actual Gentiles, actual heathens, men and women of different nations. People might actually think that, but watch the context clues closely. Verse 25 says, as he saith in OC, and OC is referencing the prophet Hosea. So as he said in the book of Hosea, That's what he's saying. So we're going to read this verse again. Romans 9:25 says, as he said in OC, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and her beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not, Salakia, the echo kind of throwing me off. Verse 26, it says, or 26, it says, and it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. So it's important to read the Old Testament, because if you just read verse 24 and verse 25 and 26, you wouldn't have no understanding who he was actually calling a Gentile. Let's go to Hosea chapter 1, and we got to get the understanding of who he was referencing as a Gentile. Was it actual Gentiles, or was it actually Israelites? Khan, so you can bring that out.
Khan, this is Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10.
Hey, I can read for y'all. Just let you know.
All right, Khan.
This is Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10. It says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. So as it said, as Paul was quoting in Romans 9:24, even us to whom he hath called not of the Jews only, but also the Gentiles, as he saith in OC, this is what he was referring to. Whereas we read in the beginning, it says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea. He was quoting Hosea and comparing it, because what did Paul say? He said he was a master at the law. He was a master at the Old Testament. He knew all the mysteries, all the breakdowns, so on and so forth. He knew what this was going into. Paul knew that they weren't actually Gentiles. But when you put yourself in that time back then, they were being called Gentiles. Why? Because you had certain men that were Jews calling themselves Greek. You had certain men that were Jews calling themselves Ethiopian. You know, they were following certain customs of Gentiles, so they became Gentiles. That's why he had to say, even us whom he hath called, not of the Jews only, but also of the Gentiles. Because if you're an ethnic Jew or ethnic Israelite, you're still called. That's why he said there's no difference between Jew nor Greek. Literally, there is no difference. But yet, we see in another verse where he says, what profit hath the Jew? You know?
Every way, chiefly.
Every way, chiefly. So what is Paul actually talking about? What is he getting into? One verse says this, one verse says that. What is he really talking about?
Could you Captain DeBar, can you turn to Acts chapter 2? We're gonna grab that. And Aharon, could you finish out Hosea?
God.
So it says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. Now you have to understand that in the book of 2 Kings, the Most High God, he told the northern kingdom that they was completely cast out of his sight, that they not the children of God no more. But he said they're going to be called back into the fold, and they're going to be called the children of God again. That's why you have something called the adoption. You know, that's why you have something called being grafted in. You know, you read about those things in the New Testament. You also read about it in Ezekiel. You read about it right here in Hosea. So finish this out so we can actually put the names on who he was talking about.
Verse 11, then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel.
Khan. So I want to, first you got to understand, it's always good to know the the time frame these prophets lived in and prophesied in, because it helps give understanding of what they was talking about on a surface level. Now I'm gonna read Hosea 1:1. It says, "The word of the Lord came unto Hosea, the son of Beri, in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, and in the days of Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel." So he prophesied in the days of Hezekiah. Hezekiah is a a righteous trademark man in the book of Kings, because right before Hezekiah, I'm gonna just go to it. I'm gonna go back to 2 Kings. So we just read 2 Kings chapter 17. That's when the northern kingdom was led away captive. Then you see in 2 Kings chapter 18, Hezekiah is being mentioned. I don't know if he's mentioned before that. It's been a minute. So the point I'm trying to make is Hosea prophesied that the northern kingdom would be called the sons of the living God in the time of Hezekiah. And that's around the same time. So as soon as they was cast away, Hosea was already prophesying that they would eventually come back to the fold. And that's important to note. Let's go to Acts chapter 2, and we'll substantiate some more points and prove some more points through the scriptures.
God. Acts chapter 2, where you want me to start? From the top?
Let's see. I'm turning it right now. I kind of want to get to the point. Let's see. Let's jump to verse 5. Verse 5.
God, this is Acts chapter 2, verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now, when this was God.
So the point of what I'm showing you is that there were Jews out of every nation at Jerusalem. Let's jump down to verse 9.
God, verse 9. It says, Parthians and Medes and Elamites and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and in Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia and Egypt, and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and the strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wondrous works of God.
So the point why I wanted to go to Acts chapter 2, you see, it tells you that it was Israelite foreigners who were actually born and raised in these different places on the earth, like in Mesopotamia, Cappadocia. It says Arabians. It says strangers of Rome. It said Medes, Parthians. It named all of these different places, but they were all Israelites who came from those places, and they came up to Jerusalem because they were starting to be brung back into the fold. They were starting to be grafted back into them original branches, like it talk about in Romans chapter 11. So the point that I want to be crystal clear is that you actually have Israelites who were Gentiles getting grafted back into the fold. Now, I want to prove another thing real quick. Let's go to the classic in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And Aharon, can you grab me Psalms 106 and 34 one more time?
You said 12 and what up?
12 and 2.
God, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2. It says, Ye know that ye were Gentiles, carried away unto these dumb idols, even as ye were led.
God. So it actually gave you some past tense. It says, ye know that you used to be Gentiles and you was carried away by dumb idols. You used to be Gentiles because you was carried away in idolatry. You became a Gentile because you started serving other gods. That's what that verse is saying. Now we're going to link it up with what we read in Psalms again, to prove that that actually happened to the Israelites. So this should ring a bell. Like, damn, Israelites are known as Gentiles in the New Testament. We went to Romans. Paul said it's no difference between the Jews and the Gentiles. And then he quoted Hosea, showing you that them Gentiles was actually Israelites. Then we went to Acts chapter 2 and showed you that it was actually Israelites, devout men out of all of these different nations, from these different countries, from all different parts of the world. But they were actually Jews. They was actually Israelites, but they were actually known as Gentiles. Now we're showing you another account. Let's put that precept out.
Yeah, I got one too.
All right, Khan, you got it after Aharon.
Okay.
Time, this is Psalm chapter 106 and verse 35. It says, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works, and they served their idols, which were a snare unto them.
Khan, touch on that, Baba Kashaf.
Khan. So just like you said, just like we was going into, we was mingled among the nations and we learned their works, and we was following after their gods, following after their customs, doing the things that they wanted to do. In Maccabees, it tells you that if you know anything about the Hellenization period, that's when we had to go through hardcore converting. Basically, they converted us on a hardcore level. Basically, we couldn't call ourselves Jews, we couldn't do certain things. So through that kind of converting, some of our people actually liked it and got down with it. And when you're into that so much, you start to get normal with it and normalize it. And so it said in Maccabees that we liken Greekish fashion more than anything. We like being more like Greeks than anything. We wanted to be like the Greeks. And we see that today. We get in fraternities and maternities, whatever they call, frats and whatnot, and then they brand you. Now you a Greek or Alpha, whatever it's called. We still calling ourselves Greeks to this day. We still calling ourselves Africans, so on and so forth. And we're acting like Gentiles and we're behaving like Gentiles, so we call ourselves Gentiles. We no longer call ourselves Israelites. You go into a church today, they'll be like, who are you? Oh, me, man, I'm just a Gentile. I'm nobody special. Like, what are you talking about? And that's what Paul is. That's what Paul. I know Paul didn't mean to stumble some brothers, but everything is meant for a reason. Paul was calling them Gentiles, but he knew that they weren't actually Gentiles. He was just writing it like that because that's how it was back in the day. Like, yeah, I'm going to the Gentiles because that's how they saw them. That's how the Jews in Jewry saw them. If you weren't practicing Jewry, if you weren't practicing the customs, if you weren't practicing keeping the Sabbath and being in the synagogue, you were a Gentile. Even the Pharisees said it themselves. I wouldn't sit with a sinner. I don't sit with them. I don't sit with the Samaritans. I don't do that. I don't like being around these kind of people. And really, that ain't brothers. That's why he said there's no difference between a Jew and a Greek. Is it talking about an actual Greek? Is it talking about an actual ethnic Greek? No, it's not. It's talking about a brother or a Israelite that calls himself a Greek. But go ahead.
Khan, that's on you, probably.
God, and to touch on that too, that's the captivity that our people was in right before the Roman captivity, dealing with why Paul was actually telling them, that they were Gentiles, because the Greeks, that's one of the worst captivities we've been in, one of them, right? Because they the ones who literally made us stop following our heritage. But the brother brought out a good point earlier. He was going into how the split even came about. And we understand it's all of what Solomon did. It was prophecy. It had to happen. So I want to get this. This is Hosea chapter 4 and verse 17, right? Because you got to understand what actually initiated the split is when Ephraim started making Levites and sons of Aaron out of the northern kingdom. And we know that's a sin. They cannot do that. The Levites are the Levites. The sons of Aaron are the sons of Aaron. But Ephraim started making the northern kingdom out of priests. So this is Hosea chapter 4 and 17. It says, Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. This is what he said in the book of Hosea. Leave Ephraim alone, he has joined to idols. So when we go to like the brother just brought out 1 Corinthians 12, where it says, ye know that ye were Gentiles carried away to these dumb idols. We read in Hosea where the Most High said, leave Ephraim alone, he has joined the idols. Now, when you go to Hosea 11 and 12, it tells you about how, and it makes sense why Judah kept coming back to the homeland, because they was the ones that kept getting back on track, repenting. The northern kingdom didn't want to get back on track. They didn't want to do what they're supposed to do. We know it was prophecy. It has to happen. This is the order of it. But this is Hosea chapter 11 and 12. It says, Ephraim compasseth me about with lies, in the house of Israel with deceit. But Judah yet ruleth with God, and is faithful with the saints. So Judah, that's why the Most High kept allowing Judah to go back to the homeland, because they're the ones who kept getting it right. Right? It tells you that in Jeremiah chapter 2, I believe it is, or it might be Jeremiah chapter 4, where the Most High, he divorced the northern kingdom, but he was speaking about how he was going to divorce the southern kingdom also, because they kept going off, but they kept coming back. But the northern kingdom, after the Assyrian captivity, he cast them all the way off. That's how we know that they're the people, because they ended up over here dealing with Second Ezra chapter 13. Was y'all gonna go into that?
It wasn't on my radar right now, but we can. I might let you take the lead though.
Yeah, go ahead. We can just find a spot for it.
Okay. Let's grab Ephesians chapter 2.
Got it. Ephesians chapter 2.
Good one.
Got it. I got it.
Okay, Khan. Bring that out.
We're going to start at 11?
Yes.
God, Ephesians chapter 2 and 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh, made by hands.
Khan, it's a lot of meat in that verse. He said, first of all, he said, wherefore remember. So first, let's get a little bit of context. Let's get Ephesians 1 and 1.
God, this is Ephesians chapter 1, verse 1. Paul, an apostle of Yahushua Mashiach, by the will of God, to the saints which are at Ephesus, and to the faithful in Hamashiach Yahushua.
Khan. So this is a letter that Paul wrote to the saints that was in Ephesus. This was a letter written to the Israelites who were dwelling in Ephesus. Now he said to the saints which are at Ephesus. Now everyone should know who the everyone should know who the saints are according to the Bible. Saints that is a code word for a particular nation of people. This is Psalms chapter 148 and verse 14. It says, he also exalteth the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even the children of Israel, a people near to him. Praise ye the Lord. So when the Bible talks about the saints, it's really talking about the nation of Israel. And this is the perfect verse to prove that. It's telling you. And when the Bible says, even of the children of Israel, that's all it's pertaining to. You see this all throughout the Bible. That's just how it's worded. It identifies exactly who the saints are. The Israelites. Now, let's go back to 2 and 11 in Ephesians, Baba Kasha.
God. Salaki. 2 and 11, it says, you me read 11 again, you said?
Yes, please.
It says, wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh, made by hands.
God. So all that's going on, Paul is stirring up their remembrance. He's stirring up their remembrance, their memory. And he's just like, look, yeah, y'all used to be Gentiles in past times because y'all was carried away in idolatry. You remember what happened with Shalmaneser? And, Paul kind of talking to him, you remember all of these things that happened. This is why you hear him. You was carried away in the captivity. And now you're called uncircumcision. Now you're called uncircumcised by the Jews. because the Jews are known as circumcision or the circumcised because they actually keep circumcision, because they actually practicing Jewry, like Officer Aharon says, because they actually practicing the law, statutes, and commandments. You know, they actually, some is still Israelites in the homeland, so they are known as the circumcision. That's a code word for the southern kingdom. Uncircumcision is the code word for the northern kingdom. It says, verse 12, read that, Baba Kashal.
God, verse 12. It says that at that time ye were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenant of promise, having no hope and without God in the world.
Khan. And at a certain period of time, God had cast them completely off, and they were aliens. They were actually strangers. They wasn't a part of the commonwealth. They wasn't a part of the covenants, the promises, everything that it talks about in Romans chapter 9. They wasn't a part of it. 13.
God, in verse 13. It says, but now in Hamashiach Yahushua, ye who sometimes were afar off are made nigh by the blood of Hamashiach.
Khan. And this is the whole reason why Yahweh had to hit the scene. He had to bring them back to the fold again. Man, there's so many precepts that's flying through my brain right now.
Man,
It's getting hot in here, man. I'm glad that your spirit getting stirred up too, man. It's so. Let's keep reading. Let's keep reading. We're gonna get into it a little bit. Let's keep reading.
God, it says, for he is our peace, who had made both one and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us.
Okay. Let's go to Ezekiel 37.
God.
It's only right.
That's perfect timing too.
God.
Ezekiel 37, where you mean start? You start at 15?
6. Yeah, you start at 15.
God. It's Ezekiel 37:15. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel his companions, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of Israel, the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, thus said the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand.
Con. This is a perfect precept. Hey, so what he did, he had two sticks. He put them together. One part of the stick represent the southern kingdom. The other half of the stick represented the northern half, or the northern. Slovakia. I'm butchering it. Both of the parts of the stick represent one side of the kingdom, the southern and the northern. And they was like, what does this represent when you put them together? Because the Most High God always speak in similitudes and in parables to his people, because he want them to actually think. He want to show them. Some people need that visual teaching. So the Most High God always gave it to us in a few ways. And he always do it multiple times. Like we already showed you one in Hosea. We're showing you in Ezekiel. There's plenty of times where the Lord prophesied that his people would all be one people again and not two separate kingdoms. So this stick being joined together, it represents the nation coming together and being united as one. That makes sense. Jump down to verse 22.
Yeah, that's what I'll. It says, and I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all.
And it's saying exactly what it's saying. Let's
Salaki. No. Read 21.
All right, Con, go
ahead. And say unto them, thus said the Lord God, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land,
So
and I will make them one nation. God.
Khan, he said, I will gather the children of Israel from among the heathen.
God.
He said he was going to get us from among the heathen. This is a key point because a lot of people stumble when they see go go preach unto the Gentiles, go teach the Gentiles. You know, what did the apostles say? Will he go in the midst of the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? What are they going into? What is he talking about?
Let me grab that, Baba Kashaf.
Go ahead.
All right, John chapter 7, verse 35. John chapter 7, verse 35 says, Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go into the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? So you actually have the Jews asking among themselves and talking among themselves, where is our Lord finna go? Where is Yahweh Shai about to go? Where is Jesus Christ finna go? Is he gonna go to the dispersed Israelites who dwell among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? That is a very, very, very key and powerful scripture. He said, look, Yahweh Shai, are you really finna go to the Gentiles and teach them? But he was really referencing the northern kingdom. That's why it's worded like that. He said the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles. So that's a key. I'm glad that you brought that up. It's back on you.
Hey, Salakia, can I touch on it?
Go ahead.
All right, so I just got one scripture to add on to what you just brought out, right? Because Yahweh Shai did mention that. This is John in the same book, John chapter 10.
Hold on. Because I'm going to get John 10. I want you to get John 11 first. And then I'll let you touch on John 10.
All right, where you may start?
11 and 50. 11 and 49. Start at 49.
God. It says, and one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, Ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahweh Shah should die for that nation, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one of the children of God that were scattered abroad.
So, Khan, we see that Caiaphas is in the spirit. He says, and this spake he not of himself. This is letting you know he's in the spirit. But being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahweh should die for that nation, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad. That's going into the southern kingdom. That's going into the Jews that weren't actually practicing as Jews. We see that in Acts 2, like Officer brought out earlier. You know, we see that's the Jews that was acting like Greeks. We see that with the southern kingdom going under Salmanezar and then going into the land of the north, or whatever you want to call it. You know, but grab that John 10 and I'll let you touch on it.
God, hey, and another thing too, man, you gotta understand, like, why is it saying to the Jew first and to the Greek? And why is he saying that in the book of Romans? Why he didn't say to the Jew first and then to the Roman?
Right.
That's very overlooked. Why he talk about Greeks in the book of Romans, man. But this is John chapter 10 and verse 15. It says, As the Father knoweth me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Then it says, And other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. And we know in Peter, Yahushua is considered the chief shepherd. He has shepherds, which is the leaders of the community, and the brothers that he have of the old fold. It was talking about the northern kingdom. That's why we just went to Ezekiel 37, proving that those two sticks will be brought into one stick, and they shall be one in the Lord's hand. This is the same thing Yahushua was talking about in John chapter 10, where he said he's the good shepherd, and then he have sheep of another fold, which he was going into the northern kingdom. But that's it.
Mahar, can you grab me Isaiah 10 and 21? And I want to grab this Jeremiah 23 and 3. Debar, can you grab me Acts 18 and 4?
God.
Baba Kasha. All right, so I'm gonna get this Jeremiah 23 and then this on. I'm gonna have you grab that, Mahar. This is Acts 23 in verse 3. It says, "And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase." So we see that same word right here, where Christ would gather the fold. Jeremiah prophesied of that. He already hit the scene and spoke on that he was going to gather the fold. But who is the fold? Can you grab me that, Mark?
Con, real quick, can you quote that Acts again?
Acts 18:4.
Okay, Con.
What did you want me to get then?
I wanted you to get Acts 18:4, and I wanted Mahar to grab Isaiah.
Okay.
So what did you just read?
I just read Jeremiah 23.
No,
Oh,
you're right. I think you said Acts 23:3.
Salakia. I was in Jeremiah 23:3.
Okay.
Mahar, Isaiah 10:21. The bar, Acts 18:4.
okay, Con. This is Isaiah chapter 10, verse 21. The remnant shall return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty God.
Come on.
For though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea, yet a remnant of them shall return. The consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness.
So we see he's using, it's a whole bunch of keywords in the Bible. We've seen in Hosea 1:10, a remnant, and Israel, sand of the sea. Then we see Yahushua mentioning a flock and a fold. Then we see Jeremiah mentioning a flock and a fold. Then we see Jeremiah also mentioning a remnant. So then we go to Isaiah and see where he says, "A remnant of them shall return, though thy people Israel be as the sand of the sea." It's always been prophesied that Israel would return as a whole, just like Ezekiel 37, that the captain officer brought out. That was so beautifully, you know. This Acts point is to touch on what the bar had brought out. It says to the Jews first, then to the Greeks. Can you give me that Acts 18?
God. This is Acts chapter 18, verse 4. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks.
So this is, I believe, this is going into Paul, where he was reasoning in the synagogue, both to the Jews and to the Greeks. Were there actually Greek men in there? No, it wasn't actual Greeks in there. They're not in there getting down in the scriptures. They believe on Zeus. They believe on so on and so forth. They not actually getting down to scriptures because they know the Jews ain't dealing with them.
Right.
These are actually Jews. I'm going to prove it. John 18 and verse 20. Yahushua answered him, "I spake openly to the world. I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple, whither the Jews always resort. And in secret I have said nothing." So the only people that's in the synagogues and in the temples are Jews, But these are Jews that call themselves Greeks, that's actually learning, that's actually coming back into the fold. That's why it's to the Jew first, then to the Greek later. Or to the Jew first, then to the Gentile. We got to get the in-house problem fixed, and then we can go out and preach to the southern kingdom. Get to them brothers, because they not in Jerusalem right now. But go ahead. It's on y'all. Salakia.
Hey, you made a lot of fire points and you put out a lot of fire precepts. You know what I'm doing right now, King? I am sharpening my sword because you bring Hey, look, if we up here teaching and the teachers is sharpening a sword, everybody else should be sharpening a sword. That's a fact. That's a fact, man. Hey, whew. Yeah, I had to let you rock out because you was catching your wind right there. All right, so we was kind of at Ephesians. We jumped to Ezekiel. Then we jumped to John 7, John 11. We then jumped to Jeremiah, to Isaiah, to Acts. We jump back into John. So let's go back to Ephesians. It's a few more things I want to touch on. It's another one that I want to kind of get into in Colossians, and I'm gonna kind of start winding down because I wanted this So like, yeah, I'm stuttering. I wanted this lesson to be kind of quick and kind of sweet. And Lord willing, we come back around and go a little deeper into more events, like going into the Apocrypha, the Maccabees, just diving a little deeper. But for now, let's go back to Ephesians chapter 2, Baba Kasha, and let's read 14.
God. This is Ephesians chapter 2, verse 14. For he is our peace, who have made both one and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us.
Gone. And it's always been a middle wall of partition because the Jews, they kind of like, man, who is these uncircumcised freaks? They not with us no more. Hey, look, y'all cast off, y'all cut off. It's no way y'all can come back to the fold. The Lord not dealing with y'all. Y'all uncircumcised. Y'all are Gentiles. Y'all heathens. Get out of here. You know, so that's kind of that middle wall petition. But the Lord, Yahushua, he's cutting that down. You know, the things that's broken down, Yahushua is building up again. Let's keep reading.
God, it says, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make himself of twain one new man, so making peace.
Come on.
It says, verse 16, and that he might reconcile both unto God and one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby.
Come on.
It says, and came and preached peace to you, which were afar off, and to them that were made nigh.
Everybody should kind of have a good idea what's going on. Yahushua is cutting down that middle wall partition. He's setting things up through the Spirit. He's bringing them that were far off. He's bringing them close. He grafting them in. Come on.
God, it says, Salakia 16, and that he might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby, and came and preached peace to you, which were afar off, and to them that were nigh. For through him we both have access by one Spirit unto the Father.
Come on.
Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God, and are built.
That's a fire point. Verse 19. Read that again, Baba Kasha.
God. Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God.
Khan, he said, you're not a foreigner no more. You're a fellow citizen with the saints and of the household of God. Come on.
God, it says, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Yahushua Mashiach himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth until a holy temple in the Lord, in whom ye are also are built together for an habitation of God through the Spirit.
Khan. Now, I'm gonna grab this precept in Colossians 1 and verse 21. So Colossians 1. Aharon, did you have something?
Yes, sir.
Khan, go ahead.
Kind. It's in this Ephesians. This Ephesians 2 and 12. That at that time you were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenant of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. Key words right there is aliens and strangers. And then we just read verse 19. Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God. So Christians would run away with this, and I mean run away. Like if you're an alien, you're obviously not related, so on and so forth. It can't be no way that it's talking about the Israelites that was so on and so forth. Or if you're a stranger, we know for a fact that strangers are Gentiles and this, that, and the third. So, like I said, it's key words. This is Psalm chapter 69 and verse 8. It says, I am become a stranger unto my brethren and an alien unto my mother's children. And that's kind of how we were acting back then. We were aliens unto our mother's children, and we became strangers unto our brethren. So don't let these Christians just pick you apart with those words. The Bible will always break itself down. There's always key words. You just got to read and find it. But that's it. You got it.
Khan. And that's why it's important to have like-minded brothers around you. So whenever you weak in the area, hey, they might have the perfect precept that builds you back up. And we all got a piece of that puzzle. We got Soldier Nazar dropping some fire precepts in the chat. And y'all get a chance, look at those. So this is Colossians, and I'm glad, look, two is better than one. He said the key word was strangers and alienated. The precept I was pulling is Colossians 1:21, and that's the key word also. Colossians 1:21 says, and you that were sometime alienated and enemies in your mind by wicked works, yet now have he reconciled. So what we did to ourselves, we made ourselves alienated. We made ourselves enemies by the Most High God by serving other gods, and we was cut off. But now he's reconciling us back under one banner, and that's Yahweh Shah. Now I'm gonna jump down to verse 26. And the reason why we put mystery of the Gentiles, it kind of relates to this verse, so pay attention. Verse 26, Colossians 1:26 says, even the mystery which have been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints. And the mystery is like, why was the northern kingdom cut off, and why are they being brought just to get brung back into the fold again? It was things that we had to learn. Captain DeBar, can you get Romans chapter 9 and verse 30? And Aharon, can you get that Romans 2:26? It says, even the mystery which had been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints, to whom God would make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. So it's literally a mystery going on, and only a few and select people on earth actually understand this mystery. And if you understand what's really going on, you've been chosen. You was elected. You know, the Most High God is definitely showing favor to you because he opened your eyes to see the certain things that our forefathers wish they could have seen firsthand. That's why you have prophecies and certain seals on this book that has never been unlocked until now. So I think I want Romans chapter 2 and verse 26 first. And you can go ahead and read that.
God, this is Romans chapter 2 and verse 26. It says, therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his circumcision be counted for circumcision? Salakia. Let me read that again. Therefore, if the uncircumcision keep the righteousness of the law, shall not his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision?
God. So a lot of times you have the southern kingdom, the Jews, they would kind of be prideful and boast themselves in their works because they kept the law. So a lot of time Paul might come off at an angle where it's kind of like that, where it looks like he's kind of downplaying the law, statutes, commandments. Sometimes in the context it'd be like, is Paul teaching against the commandments? No, he's trying to show the Jews, the southern kingdom, that it's not just about the commandments. It's not just, that's not all it is. It's a spirit behind the commandments. You actually got to be moving in a certain way, fruits of the spirit. You actually have to love your brother, you know? And that's why Peter himself, he said, look, man, it's kind of hard to understand Paul if you don't really see what's going on. You know, if you're not learned, you're going to wrestle, you're going to fight, you're not going to be at peace because you're not going to understand. So the uncircumcised Israelites, the northern kingdom, he said if they keep the laws, they would become circumcised. We'll wait on the I want the precept in Deuteronomy chapter 6, I believe, or 10. I'll grab it in a minute. It'll show you that circumcision is not always a fleshly circumcision, and this is what he's hinting at. Let's keep reading, Aaron.
God, verse 27. And shall not his uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee, who by the letter and circumcision doth transgress the law?
Come on.
For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is outward in the flesh,
And a lot of times Jews would boast themselves because they was actually circumcised on the eighth day in the land, and they do these sacrifices, they keeping these commandments, they doing these things. But he's gonna teach them something. Paul is teaching them, look, he not a Jew that's one outwardly. And hey, what Yahweh Shah say? He said, first clean the what? The inside of the cup, and then the outside would be made clean. Paul is teaching the actual Jews, the southern kingdom, look, bro, you got to clean the inside of your cup. Yes, on the outside, you're adorned, you got the long beard, you got fringes on. Hey, look, you even circumcised. But what about your heart? What about the inside of the cup? Let's keep reading.
God, verse 29. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of man, but of God.
Khan, it said, he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, a mentally, in his soul, in his heart, he is circumcised, man. And it's not just about the letter. It's not just about you keeping these things to a T and being perfect when it comes to the law. And you're look, man, if you can do those things, more power to you. Hey, don't stop doing what you're doing, because we got to keep the law, statutes, commandments. But it's another righteousness that you got to have. Now, let's get to Romans chapter 9, Baba Kasha.
Hey, Salakia,
Khan.
can I get this precept just to back you up right quick?
Khan.
Khan, so the brother, he just read in Romans chapter 2. You stopped at
29. We read it all the way through.
All right, Khan. So 29, that's the point. It says, but he is a Jew, which is one inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. So that made me think of this precept in 2 Corinthians 3 and 6. Khan, it says, who also have made us able ministers of the New Testament, right? Dealing with the fruits of the spirit and actually understanding the spirit of the law. It says, not of the letter, but of the spirit, for the letter killeth. So not only that they was just trying to keep the law to a T, they was actually killing people who didn't keep it to a T. So what does that bring forth? That bring forth genocide, because our people, you ain't about to keep it to a T like you think so. You just not, man. In this captivity, you not gonna do it, right? But that don't mean we throw away the law, man. But it says also, you say what?
Let me grab a precept real quick.
Con.
Romans 3 and 31, it says, do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid, yea, we establish the law. So even though we're in this captivity, even though it's another righteousness that we got to keep, does that mean stop keeping the laws? He said, God forbid. It's back to you.
God, and it tells you that in Romans 4 and 13. So it's in the same book where he tells you the righteousness of faith. So, hey, and those go hand in hand. Faith, James 2 will tell you all about how faith without works is dead, and the other way around, man. But going back to 2 Corinthians 3 and 6, it says, reading it again, who's also made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the spirit. For the letter killeth, right? But the spirit give life. And the spirit give life as in one more. Matthew chapter 22 and 22, because this is what Yahushua Mashiach was getting on the Pharisees about. Right? Matthew 23 and 23, it says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye have done, and not to leave the others undone. So he's not getting on to them for keeping the law. He's getting on them. He's like, bro, why are y'all just focused on the letter of the law? Why are y'all just worrying about stoning people and getting tithing, getting everybody's money, playing the people, taking bribes, but y'all not worrying about having exacting judgment on someone, understanding if somebody did it on accident or if they did it purposely. That's executing real judgment. And it says also mercy. You actually having mercy. That's why Yahushua did that in John chapter 8. He was setting forth an example. It tell you in John 1 and 17, the law came by Moses, but grace and truth came by Yahushua HaMashiach. And that's what he gave that lady that was caught in the act of adultery. He says, go and sin no more. So it says mercy and faith. And that's what we're going into right now. The Romans 4 and 13, the righteousness of faith, man. So this is the spirit of the letter, and plus the fruits of the spirit, you know. But man, there's more to just the law, man. We, the earth was made for our sake. We have to enjoy it, but we have to understand that we do have boundaries according to the earth. If you want to learn, if you want to able to withstand earth and be on earth and survive, you have to learn by the one who created it. But that's it, though. Go ahead.
All right, you got something?
Well, I'm not by my Bible right now. Hold on.
All right, so you want the Romans 9 now and 30?
Yeah, kind.
All right, God. So this is Romans chapter 9, verse 30. What shall we say then? That the Gentiles which follow not after righteousness have obtained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith.
Hey, and what he's talking about is the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom, look, they attained righteousness because they attained the righteousness of faith. Come on.
God. It says, but Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, have not attained the law of righteousness.
Hey, but the actual Jews, they followed the law of righteousness. Yes, the law is righteous, but they didn't attain, they didn't make it. They didn't obtain those things that they were seeking for. Verse 32, Baba Kashab.
God. Wherefore? Because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law, for they stumbled at that stumbling block.
Because they followed after the law, statutes, commandments, they was looking at it as a carnal thing. They didn't see the spirit behind the law. Can you get Romans 7 and 14, Baba Kashab?
God.
They didn't do the law, statutes, commandments because they had faith in the Most High God. They didn't have faith in Yahweh Shah. They didn't do it the right way. They was missing some critical things in there. That's why it's a beautiful thing that Ezekiel prophesied of those two sticks being joined together. Look, the northern kingdom, they was without the law, statutes, commandments. They was missing something. You know what I'm saying? The northern kingdom, they were without the law, statutes, commandments, and circumcision. They only had one piece of the puzzle, which was faith. The Jews, they only had one piece of the puzzle also, which was the laws, the statutes, the commandments. But they was missing something. They was missing faith. So both sides of our nation, they had a part right and they had a part wrong. But when them sticks is joined together, hey, look, the thing is made whole. Bring that out, King.
God. Romans chapter 7 and 14. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin.
Hey, Paul is telling you that the law is spiritual. It's a spirit behind the law. It always has been. Our forefathers that was really cold, they seen the spiritual side of the law. King David, Elijah, you know what I'm saying? They seen the spiritual. Hey, that's why Enoch was called up into heaven, because he seen the spiritual side of the law. He understood what they really represented. You know, it's levels to the truth. And that's why it's important for you to take your time and don't just go in the flow. Don't just go through the motions. Take your time, because certain things are going to be open at certain times, and everything ain't open to everybody at the same time. These doors and these windows, look, sometimes it clicks, sometimes it don't. But take your time. Don't be in a rush with this truth. If you eat too much, you're going to be full and you're going to throw up all that food you ate. And next thing you know, you're going to be in idolatry, serving another God. Look, take your time. Fear the Most High God. Keep his commandments. Exercise your faith. Try and build your faith. Hey, over time, these deeper secrets and mysteries of the Bible will be unlocked if it's supposed to. You know, don't get tossed out of the truth because you think you know what Paul is saying, and you only in Paul now, and now you out of the truth. Take your time with learning this Bible. Take your time. Do what's required of you. It's not required of everybody to know every single deep mystery and parable of the Bible. It's important to build yourself up and acquire wisdom, acquire knowledge, and to get understanding of those things. But look, you don't have to be the best and know the most. Look, man, make sure you're doing what's required of you. Make sure you're keeping the law, statutes, commandments, and you exercising your faith. You finding out ways, and you writing stuff down, and you figuring out that the Most High God is who he say he is, right? And you doing what he told you to do. Take your time with this thing, man, because if you rush it, things are going to go south. If you rush it, things gonna turn out bad. Anything that is rushed, it usually goes sour. I know Officer Aharon can vouch for me on that. If you rush it, whew, it's gonna get shaky, man. Take your time. Be patient. Hey, let me grab a precept real quick.
I got some, Matthew.
All right, Con. I'm gonna grab I want James. What is it? It go Hebrew James, right? Hebrews James. I want James 1 and 4, I believe. Con. James 1 and 4. It's a classic precept. It says, "But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing." And be patient. Let patience have her perfect work, so you can be whole, so you won't be lacking nothing. When it says wanting, it means lacking, so that you'll be whole, not lacking a piece of the puzzle. Don't rush through this puzzle, man. It's on you, King.
God, I'm gonna get into a parable real quick. It ain't gonna be nothing deep or nothing. I'm not finna break down every line. Y'all gonna get the gist of it. But first, Captain DeBar, can you grab me Romans 10 and actually start at Romans 11 and 11, and then I'll want Romans 10.
God, Romans 11 and 11.
Yes,
It
sir.
says, it says, I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy.
So basically, Most High is given a stumbling block unto the Jews, to provoke them to jealousy. Basically, they like the Gentiles can't come in. No, they ain't keeping the law, statutes, commandments. They uncircumcised, so on and so forth. But this been prophesied. Can you give me Romans 10 and 19? Mahar, can you give me Deuteronomy 32 and 21? And then I'm gonna go into this parable.
God, this is Romans 10 and 19. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them that are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you.
So Khan, he said, I will provoke them by people who are no people, basically by a nation that's cut off by Gentiles, you know. To prove that basically that Moses spoke of that. Mahar, can you grab me that?
Con, Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 21. It says, "They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation."
So Khan, just remember that was just the precept to that, but just keep in mind that the Most High would provoke the Jews to jealousy. So I'm gonna get into this parable real quick. I'm gonna kind of run through it. I'm not gonna just sit on this parable for too long. This is Luke 15 and 11. It says, and he said, a certain man had two sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me a portion of goods that followed to me. And he divided unto them his living. So a certain man had two sons, he gave them their portions. Verse 13, and not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in the land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. So he joined himself unto a citizen of that country. Basically, he joined himself into another nation and joined himself unto their philosophy and idols and so on and so forth. And this would be representing the southern kingdom. This son would be representing the southern kingdom, which is Ephraim, Issachar, so on and so forth. Verse 16, and he would fain have filled his belly in the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger. I will arise and go to my father, and he will and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. So I said that this is the southern kingdom. Right here, it says that his father seen him afar off and he had compassion on him, so on and so forth. This is Jeremiah 31 and 20. Is Ephraim my dear son? Is he a pleasant child? For since I spake against him, I do earnestly remember him still. Therefore my bowels are troubled for him. I will surely have mercy upon him, saith the Lord. So we see right here that that is a pinpoint scripture showing how this parable is relating to them, to that person, to Ephraim. I told you Ephraim is the head tribe of the southern kingdom. Back to the parable. This is Luke 15 and verse 22. But the father said to his servants, bring forth the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring hither the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. What is that going into? Basically, he clothed him with his spirit, pursuing Isaiah 30 and 1. The Most High clothed him with his spirit and gave him shoes. The shoes representing the gospel. You know, he's clothed him with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. But it also says, and bring hither the fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. What is that fatted calf representing? That's representing the lamb, which is Yahushua. We brought out multiple scriptures that he should die for a nation, but not that nation only. Also, we brought out in Ezekiel 37 that he would put the two sticks together and then he would be the king. So they brought forth the fatted calf, which is Yahushua, and he became the sacrifice to enter in the adoption of, the southern kingdom and any other people basically who were cut off from Israel, because we look back in the law and we see multiple sins that can get you cut off from Israel. It's multiple sins that says you will cut him off of Israel. You will, I can't remember how it's worded basically.
Away this evil.
Yeah, basically. Back to this though. Verse 24. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found, and they began to be merry. Was the son actually dead? No, that's being spiritually dead. When you read in Ezekiel 37, it talks about the valley of dry bones. These people are not actually dead, but they're dead in their sins. They don't know. Yahweh even said the word and the spirit it quickeneth. And if you know anything about the quickeneth means to make alive. So his son was dead. The southern kingdom was dead, but is now alive. They were lost, and now they are found. Verse 25. Now his elder son was in the field, and as he came and drew nigh to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. The music and dancing is the angels in heaven rejoicing over the sinner that repented. So it's, they're rejoicing over the southern kingdom coming back into the fold, basically. Verse 26, and he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said unto him, thy brother is come, and thy father hath killed the fatted calf, because he hath received him safe and sound. And he was angry. And would not go in. Therefore came his father out and entreated him. Now we just read in Romans, we read in Deuteronomy, where Moses even quoted it, that he would provoke them to jealousy. With who? With the Gentiles. Who are the Gentiles? The southern kingdom. He would provoke them to jealousy. The elder brother representing right here is the northern Salakia, the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. I'm gonna keep going. Verse 29, and he answering said to his father, lo, these many years I do serve thee, neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment, and yet thou never gavest me a kid that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. And he said unto him, son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. It was meet that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, and was lost and is found. So, Khan, I just want to bring out that quick parable just to show, just give a little bit more on the understanding of Gentiles. Salakia, one more precept. This is Proverbs 21 and 16. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. This is another parable, another precept going into how the younger son was dead. Basically, he wandered out of the way of understanding, so he remained in the congregation of the dead. That was Proverbs 21:16. Salakia, back on y'all.
Con. Captain DeBar, you got anything?
Con, is we back? Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. Aharon put out a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful parable. The water for that. So I want everybody to kind of understand. I want to give a synopsis kind of what's going on. And I kind of want to give some pointers. So if you don't fully grasp this lesson, because it is a mystery, it is hard to understand. Tahawan dropped a fire precept. Lord willing, my mind goes back to that precept in a second. So it's some key information that you have to understand before you can actually understand what Paul is talking about. The first thing that you need to understand is our kingdom, the whole nation of Israel was divided. It was rent in half. It was split into two. You had the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. The northern kingdom got cast away. It's pretty simple, honestly. The northern kingdom was led away and cut off from God, cut off from the promises, the covenants, the commonwealth, the promised land. But now the ones who was cut off from being God's chosen people, now they're being called again. And that was a stumbling block to the southern kingdom. We had to learn from that. The northern kingdom had to learn too. Give me what I'm talking about. It says whenever you're in the house of mourning, it makes you wise. It's good to go into the house of mourning. You can grab that in Ecclesiastes. And I kind of elaborated on it before. Or do you have it?
What you asking for?
It's in Ecclesiastes. It starts talking about it's good to go into the house of mourning because it basically it makes you stronger.
He that increases knowledge increases sorrow.
No, that's not it. That's not it. Let me check real quick.
Kind of
chapter 7.
Yeah.
All right, God.
This is Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 2. It is better to go in the house of mourning than to go into the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart.
Hey, like he said, it's better for you to be sad sometimes rather than always being happy. Hey, somebody who don't have understanding, be like, what the hell is you talking about, Solomon? But he's going to tell you why it's better to go into the house of mourning or to be sad sometimes. Go ahead.
God, verse 3. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better.
Khan. It says, sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better. And all the scripture is saying it's good for you to be sad sometimes. It's good for you to go through trials. It's good for you to fall. When you fall, you look at what you stumbled on. You look at the stumbling, you're like, damn, I got to watch where I'm going so I don't fall again. You know what? I'm going to start wearing tennis shoes and not flip-flops because there's a lot of sharp stones around here. If I keep wearing flip-flops, I'm going to hurt myself. Hey, look, I always give this because this actually happened in my life. I got held back in 8th grade. I was so sad, but it was necessary, and it was a good thing that I actually got held back. It made me rethink. It made me analyze. It made me pay attention. It made me change because I didn't like the feeling of getting held back and all of my friends leaving me. You know what I started doing after I got held back? I started studying. I stopped skipping class. I stopped skipping school. I started applying myself. That's why it's good for you to go through trials. That's why it's good for you to go through tribulations. That's why it's good for you to stumble. Because your mind, your heart is made better. So it was necessary for the northern kingdom to stumble and to go into idolatry. It was good for us to stumble and to try and be stuck up and prideful and to try and get salvation our own way by keeping the commandments. It was necessary. It was all necessary. You
Hey,
got something?
yeah, it was necessary for the Lord because we was in a homeland and they wasn't. So they was called Gentiles. They was called this. It was necessary for us to be brought low with them. Especially in the land of captivity, like where we at now. We're all at a low degree, and really, Northern Kingdom, like they can establish more brotherhood. They can establish being together. Me and one of the brothers was talking about this earlier, how they have a teeny bit more things in order than us, not according to the scriptures, but like just according to charity, man, what it talks about in 1 Corinthians 13. So really, they got the up on us. Really, if you really go into and read 1 Corinthians 13, but it used to be us that was on the top, calling them Gentiles doing this. But the Lord, it was necessary to happen so we can get a taste of our own medicine.
Very, very necessary. And when we look at the northern kingdom, and the northern kingdom is so-called Mexicans and so-called Native Americans. That's not really their names. They really Israelites though. But when we look at the northern kingdom, when we look at Mexicans and we look at Native Americans, one thing we can say that they do better than us, they stick to the plan and they stick together. They are really, really, really family oriented. They hold it down together. Yeah, they got their scraps. Yeah, they got their gang violence. But when you look at their whole nation, Mexicans know how to take care of family. Native Americans, they'll be there for each other. Hey, our nation, Judah, we will actually take care of each other, but it's at a lower extent. We don't really look out for each other how they do. Not how they do. But it's all necessary. It's all necessary, man. It's a beautiful struggle, man. It's a beautiful struggle. Now, I do want to grab that Isaiah, that Tahoan pulled out. I'll just read it off the screen. I'm already turning to it. It's like, yeah. Isaiah 11. Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 12. You got something, King?
Nah, y'all, hey, I'm just letting you know just give me 1 second.
All right, kind. Isaiah 11 and 12 says, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations and shall assemble the outcast of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of earth. And this is why Yahweh Shai had to hit the scene. This is why our Messiah, Jesus Christ, that's what everybody call him. This is why he had to hit the scene to bring us all together again. It says, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. And the northern kingdom, they wanted to be in the position that we was, still in the land. They not in captivity like them and hard bondage all the time. They keeping the commandments. They kind of got their nose in the air. They kind of, got it made a little bit. And you know what Judah was doing? We was kind of vexing them, calling them Gentiles, saying, no, you can't be a part of this thing. You're not an Israelite. You uncircumcised. You have uncircumcision. You can't be here. Why are you even trying to serve God? Look at all the things you did. But he said those things was going to change. All of those things were going to be cut off. And we was going to be called under one banner, under one person, under one king. All of these things had to happen. It's a lot of stumbling blocks. It's a lot more things that we could pull out, a lot more scriptures, a lot more details we could go into. But the synopsis of tonight that I want everybody to walk away from, these letters that Paul, let's establish this. The whole Bible, the entire Bible is ultimately about the Israelites. From beginning to end. The beginning is talking about Israelites, to the end is prophesying about the Israelites. Now you have other nations mentioned and different situations and all of this, but ultimately the plot, the storyline, the main characters of this story is the Israelites. So these letters that you see Paul writing to Rome, to the churches in Ephesus, and Colossus, and Corinth, all of these different letters, all of these different places, it was all about the Israelites. It was to Israelites. So you have to understand that, or keep that in the back of your mind when you read in this Bible. It's about a select group of people on earth. It's not about everybody. Stop trying to make it about everybody. It has always been about the Israelites from beginning to end. If you don't have that, hey, give me Malachi 3 and 6. Baba Kashah, Officer Aharon.
Khan, I heard you.
Khan.
This is Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6.
Give me
It says,
1 second. Give me 1 second.
Khan.
If you never heard this scripture before, you're going to have a hard time understanding the Bible. Read that slow, King.
Khan, this is Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
He said, look, I am Yahweh. I'm God. I'm the most powerful person ever. I am never going to change. He said, I change not. The Lord does not change. And he chose us from the beginning, and it's going to be the same until the end. Hey, these different nations that he created them for us. Hey, give me that in 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 54. If you don't understand these fundamental scriptures, these fundamental precepts, you're going to have a hard time understanding. Captain Bar, mute your mic. You're going to have a hard time understanding the scriptures. We got to get the basics. That's why whenever you start learning the Bible, yes, it's good to read the Bible from Genesis and try and knock out books, but you have to be equipped with certain basics of understanding. Like the Lord don't change. You know, Israelites is his chosen people. Salvation is only for the Israelites. Hey, the Israelites has enemies. The enemies are going to be in subjection under the Israelites. You got to have these certain principles established before you can understand the deeper things of this Bible. So get that, Baba Kashah.
Khan, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 54.
Come on.
And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all. And the people also, whom thou hast chosen.
So he established already. Every single person comes from Adam. Everybody understand that. Everybody came from Adam. The beginning of all these different nations, these different kind of Europeans, Arabians, you know, these Hamitic tribes, the Africans, everyone comes from Adam. And then it says, even what?
It says, and the people also whom thou hast chosen.
God actually chose a certain group of people. Come on.
All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes.
No, he made the world for everybody.
Because thou madest the world for our sakes.
No. If you believe in Jesus Christ, he made the world for you.
Because thou madest the world for our sakes.
He made the world for the Israelites' sake. That's all it is to it. Let's keep reading.
Verse 56. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and as liken the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
And he said, but the other people that also came from Adam, they don't mean nothing. He said that they are nothing. They like spittle. Spittle means spit. They like spit. Hey, you have never in your life seen someone spit on the ground and pick it up. And like, you know what? I need to keep that for later. That's
With
important.
passion.
With passion. Let me pick that up. I cannot lose this. No, you spit on the ground and keep moving and you never look back. It don't mean nothing. You have an abundance of it. It also says, like in the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. Hey, you remember that what's that old tales? What's that? What it say? It said Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. And you go fetch a bucket of water and one small drop fall out of that damn bucket. Are you gonna look back? Are you gonna try and scoop it up out of the ground, out of the dirt? No, it doesn't mean anything. I have a whole bucket. The Lord looks at the other nations, all of them. Chinese, Japanese, dirty knees. Look at these. That's a joke. You can laugh. White men and women, a rape. Look, these other nations don't matter to God. He said the Israelites is the apple of his eye. All of these prophecies is for the Israelites so they can have understanding, so they'll know how to govern themselves in their nation and their household, so they have understanding of the times that's coming in the near future, so they have understanding of the times that already passed. This is all for the benefit of our nation. Stop including everybody. Salvation, the kind of salvation we need is only the salvation that we need. Everybody don't need it. What do white people need to be saved from? They got everything. This is their heaven. Hey, Aharon, what's that? What is that saying you said? You said a white man's heaven. Spit that.
No. A black man's heaven is a white man's hell.
You get it? If a white man's heaven is a black man's hell, that means a black man's heaven is going to be a white man's hell. That's why you always say, man, it feel like I'm going through hell. When do you hear a white man say that? They in heaven. The little strangler, the little few remnant of white people who bums and stuff, that don't got nothing to do with us. They have white privilege. This is their kingdom. They don't have excuses. They don't have no excuses. That's on them. They should have used their white privilege card. I don't care about that. What I care about is our people, the benefit of our nation, the stability of our people. That's what's important. It's always been about us. Every time we fall, it was to show us something. It was to teach us something. Let's keep reading though, King.
God. Verse 57. And now, O Lord, behold these heathens, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us.
And you see this all throughout history, man. These nothing nations, these people who don't mean anything to God, somehow, some way, these inferior people on the physical level, on the mental level, on the spiritual level, somehow they was able to get above us. Somehow they was able to put us in bondage, to put us in slavery, to put us in chains, raping us, abusing us, taking advantage of us, hanging us, burning us, destroying us. How was they able to do this? Because we know that a black man is stronger than a white man on the physical level. They just can't do the things that we do. On a mental level, even being 400 years behind them, learning a language that we wasn't accustomed to. All of the laws and the statutes that this white man has put up in America is for the benefit of them, not for us. But somehow, some way, we are still looking at them, even being 400 years behind them, eye to eye. Really more. They know that they are inferior to us. Now, let's mention the spiritual side. We know that black men and women are way more spiritually in tune with the Most High God than they will ever be. So how was they able to conquer us? It had to be something divine. It had to be.
I got one.
Go ahead.
God, this is Baruch chapter 4 and 6. Baruch chapter 4, verse 6. It says, Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not to God.
Khan, we were sold to our enemies. We was held captives by our enemies. It wasn't to destroy us. It was to teach us something. It was to teach us something, man. And if you can't figure out what it really is, or why you in captivity, or why you have to live every day in your life on edge, you get pulled over and you kind of got to throw your hands outside the window before the cop get there, or a cop just comes up to you with a smile on his face and he talking to you and you kind of anxious, like, I need to get out of here. Why you don't have no insurance for your life? Hey, grab that curse from me, Baba Kasha. I think it's Deuteronomy 28 and 66.
God, this is Deuteronomy 28 and 60.
66.
Yeah, 66. God. It says, And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life.
He said, "You look, every day that you walk in America, you don't know if you're gonna die or not. You don't know if you're gonna make it home. Why? Because you have enemies, enemies of other nations, enemies in your own nation. You don't have insurance of your life. You just don't know. And that was a curse that was placed upon our people for breaking his commandments. What we need to learn is who we are, who our God is, who our power is, and get back in rhythm with the Most High God, what he desires from us, what we need to do to stay out of these hellish conditions. Man, let's finish this up in Second Esdras.
God. This is Second Ezra, chapter 6, and verse 58. But we, thy people whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure?
So the main reason why I put out Second Ezra chapter 6 and 54 all the way down is to kind of stir up something in your spirit and in your mind that you knew all along, that you're special and that you're chosen, and that this world was made for you. So if the world was made for you, this Bible, how much more? This Bible ain't for everybody. Salvation is not for everybody. We are the ones who need saving. It's always been about us. Now, if you want to actually get into salvation and another meaning behind it, like you put up some food and you save it for a period of time, our enemies can have that. They can actually have that. But the only way they can have that is through us. It's through obeying us. Can you please get me, Captain the Bar, can you give me Psalms 2 and 8?
God.
I want to
I got
make
one
it.
in Psalms 2 right after you.
Okay, Kyle.
So this is Psalms chapter 2 and verse 8. It says, Salakia, it says, Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the utmost parts of the earth for thy possession.
Hey, the Lord said the whole earth is an inheritance for the children of Israel. The whole earth and the inhabitants. He said, if you ask me, you're going to inherit the heathen as a possession. When you possess something, it means you own it. It means it's yours. No one can take it away from you. He said, that's the earth. That's yours, King. Hey, these people, these other nations, these extras in my movie, those are for you, King. But it's something I need you to do first, though. I need you to do this. I need you to keep the commandments. I need you to listen. I need you to understand where these blessings is coming from. Hey, if you want to keep these blessings, make sure you're doing the commandments, or I will take these blessings and turn them into a curse. The things that you were supposed to own, I'm gonna make them own you. Look, so I need you to pay attention. I need you to do this. It's on you, King.
God, I want to read the next verse for you though. It
God,
says, because it gives a little bit more detail. It says, "Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron; thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel."
God. And for all of our enemies and for all of these heathens who don't get down with the program that the Most High God is actually setting up right now before your eyes, He is going to actually give us a two-edged sword. He's going to give us that rod of power. And for all of our enemies that don't want to obey us and listen to us and let us rule the world in righteousness, how it was set up and designed to be from the beginning, you're going to die. You're going to perish. You're not going to exist. That's the harsh truth. These other people, these other nations were made to serve us. You were made to serve. That's what they were made for. We was made to serve God. They was made to serve us. That's the natural order. There's always order into these things. They're not on the same level of us. They don't get the salvation like us. But if they listen, they can be saved for a period of time. But they don't get everlasting life. That's our salvation. Those were the promises for us. The kind of saving they get is I listen and I don't get lashed. I listen and like I live my life. You know, 60 good years. But the salvation and the promises that the Most High God gave to us is only for us. Go ahead, King. You got a precept.
God, I got two because I read verse 9 for a reason because it goes into the Most High said, "Pray." When he said, "Ask of me," he's talking about pray, and this is something we pray for as a body. So he says, "Ask of him; he will give us the heathen as an inheritance and the utmost parts of the earth." The brother just went to Second Ezra chapter 6 and proved that the earth was made for us. So, and in verse 9, "Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron; thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel." So, if we go to Revelation chapter 2, Yahushua said the same thing. Revelation chapter 2 and 26. It says, "And he that overcometh and keepeth my works until the end, to him will I give power over the nations." So, like the brother said, you have to do something. What do you have to do? You have to overcome, like Yahushua overcame, and you have to do his father's will in the process of that, right? And it says also, he will get power over the nations, verse 27, "and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I have received of my father." So yeah, Hawashah is literally quoting the same thing, telling us, hey, if we overcome, this is our inheritance, this is our reward. It tells you that in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3. It tells you the same thing. But this is Psalms 18 and 40. Right, and this is proven that the heathens do not have salvation, and the salvation that they are going to obtain in Isaiah 14 is not the salvation we're going to get, like the brother said, everlasting life. So this is Psalms 18 and 40. It says, this is an account of David. It says, "Thou hast also given me the necks of mine enemies, that I might destroy them that hate me." It says, "They cried, but there was none to save them, even unto the Lord, but he answered them not. Then did I beat them small as the dust before the wind. I did cast them out as the dirt in the streets." So this is the same analogy of, you taking that rod of iron and breaking that potter to shivers. But he says, they cried unto the Lord, but he did not save them. And the brother just brought out how the Lord does not change. Right. And we can get more precepts on the Lord doesn't change. You got James 1 and 17, and you got Hebrews 13 and 8 that proves that the Lord does not change, man. That's it, though.
Con. And I want to pull out another precept on them actually being our servants and kind of how it would be looked. how it will look. Salakia. So I'm gonna pull this out. This is Sirach chapter 33 and verse 25. Sirach chapter 33 and verse 25. It says, "If thou set thy servant to labor, thou shalt find rest. But if thou let him go idle, he shall seek liberty." So just like any servant, you always want to keep them occupied with work, just how they did for us. If we have 3 days off, 4 days off as a slave or a servant, we're going to seek liberty. We're going to try and do our own thing, establish our own, government. We're going to try and get out of there. Let's keep reading though. It says, "A yoke and a collar do bow the neck. So are tortures and torments for an evil servant." So if you are an evil servant to the Israelites, you will be tortured. You will be tormented. There will be lashes. It will be whips and scourges and discipline. Of course, that's the natural order of things when someone doesn't listen. Even a kid, if he don't listen, he gets disciplined. You bow down his neck, you spank him. How much more for an evil servant who is not your son? That's the natural order. There's nothing wrong or wicked or evil about that. That's the truth. And you have to keep in mind, that's what they did to us. And it wasn't righteous. Think about the extent of the tortures and torments that they did to us, like butt breaking. And they take the biggest, strongest man on the plantation and they rape him in front of his family. Or they cover him in tar, a sticky substance, and put feathers on the tar of this man, straddle him between two horses, burn him alive, catch him on fire, torch this man while he's alive, while everyone watches, and make the horses run into two separate directions, and they rip this body's limbs apart.
Hey, I just Salaki.
No, it's on you. Go ahead.
No, I seen one recently, man. They had it's called nail shoes, where they would put nails, like they would make iron nails out of the shoe. There was iron shoes, and at the heel part, they would stab the outside of the heel part of the shoe and make nails on the inside of the shoe and make you walk on your tippy toes. And once you got tired enough and was like, to hell with it, they would make you stand all day. Your heels, when you relax, you're gonna sit on them nails, man, and it's horrible, man. It's horrible tortures, man.
Man, if we try and describe off every way that they tormented and tortured our people, we'll be here for another day. We got sources, we got books, and we got Google. We can look up all of the different torture tactics that our enemies did to us. But I'm trying to paint a picture and stir up your spirit and your mind that first and foremost, that was unrighteous, but we had to learn something. We had to get disciplined. The Lord had to teach us. You can't serve other gods. Not only that, once you go through these trials and these tribulations, you're going to be a better king than they ever was. You're going to be a better ruler than they ever could be, because you're going to do it in righteousness. You're going to do it the right way. Let's keep reading. It says, "Send him to labor that he be not idle, for idleness teacheth much evil." Make sure you keep them occupied, because once they are idle, meaning they're not busy, they don't have work, they start getting evil thoughts. All of a sudden, they want to be a king again, and they want to make America great again. You got some.
I was gonna say they get the coming up with plans on how to escape and run away and all that.
It's gonna go into that, but it's something else. There's another key part that I want to actually touch on, because a lot of Israelites don't want to hear this, but this is part of the truth. This is part of the truth. It's in the Bible. It says, "Set him to work as it is fit for him." Hey, all our servants, we're going to set them to work as it is fit for them. If we got tall men Hey, look, we might have to put him. He might pick the fruit out of the trees. If he good at climbing, we might have, look, if he tedious, he might be able to pick all the grapes off the clutch. We're gonna send him to labor as is fit for him. He a good swimmer. We might have him go out there, cast the net in there, and get the fish and bring him back. We're gonna send him to labor as it is fit for him. If he good at being in the heat all day, we might set him next to that furnace and make him a blacksmith, and he making different things. We're gonna send him to labor as is fit for him. It says, if he be not obedient, put on more heavy fetters. So if he still don't want to listen, make bondage even heavier, make it harder, put him through more laborious tasks, break him down. Just like any servant, anything that you need to listen to you, they can't be high-minded. You got to break them down like a horse. A strong horse ain't gonna let you ride him. You got to break them down. Hey, sometimes that's how it is with kids or dogs or anything. So how much more a servant? Sometimes you got to break them down, put more heavy yokes of iron on them. It says, watch this. It says, but be not excessive toward any. So don't overdo it. Israel, our people, once they start doing something, they usually like to overdo it. You show Drake alcohol and he turned into a drunkard. We do things and we surfeiting things. That's just how our people is. We like to take it to the next limit. So when the Lord give us this strength and this power, like he's doing now, we like to kind of take it to the next level. But it's going to be a time where the Lord balances out our hate and our love perfectly proportioned, and it's going to be a righteous thing. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Hey, he said, what did King David say in Psalms 139? He said, I hate them with what kind of hatred? Who knows what he said? I'm going to grab it. What you say? Kind, that's the truth. All right, I'm going to grab it because I like the scripture a lot. Psalms, Salakia. Am I in the right place? I thought it was 139. Psalms chapter 139 and 29 or 21. It says, do not I hate them, O Lord, that hate thee? And am I not grieved with those that rise up against thee? I hate them with perfect hatred. I count them my enemies. We're going to actually hate them with a perfect hatred. That's in the Bible. A perfect hatred, that's in the Bible. That's a real thing. It says, be not excessive toward any, and without discretion do nothing. You got to have wisdom when you're dealing with servants. It says, if thou have a servant, let him be unto thee as thyself, because thou hast bought him with a price. These certain slaves and servants that we have, they're actually going to be your possession. It's going to be your possession. You own them. Whether it's men servants, women servants. It might be a concubine. Who knows? But you possess them. Do you think you got shoes that you don't really wear them other day? Do you just go, burn them? No, it's your possession. You don't just waste money. What's the use of having a slave just to kill him? It's a possession. If you're being strategic and you're instilling fear in the rest of your servants, of course, that's the discretion part. But verse 30, it says, if thou have a servant, let him be unto thee as thyself, because thou hast brought him with a price. If thou have a servant, entreat him as a brother. Now, this is the tricky part. I don't want nobody to get caught up on that. Y'all know in slave movies, you have the master of the plantation, and he like, here, boy, and he bring the slave over there, and he might look, and he kind of crouch down, and he kind of come like in a nice, wise as a serpent or harmless as a dove spirit, and he like, look, well, if you do well now, son, and he kind of entreat him like a brother and talk to him nice. You're gonna have to win over servants and be like, well, look, man, if you do this, then I'll let you have a good day. I'll let you look. I promise that your son, he's gonna have a good job on my plantation. He might not have to do the hard laborious tasks. Like Look, you didn't treat him like a brother. You kind of talk smooth to him. That's using discretion. It says, for thou hast need of him as of thine own soul. If thou entreat him evil and he run from thee, which way would thou go to seek him? And you know that's how it always go. But in righteousness, we're going to hate our enemies. And there's going to be a perfect balance to everything we do because that's how the Lord is. So I had to balance this out with a little bit of hate and a little bit of discretion on how our service would be in the kingdom. Because some people, they're not ready to hear that their oppressors can't get salvation. So I try and meet you halfway and show you, look, it's not going to be a completely bad with you serving us. We're going to rule in righteousness, and there's going to be a beautiful place. Can you give me what is that? Proverbs 29, and I'm gonna wrap it up right now. Aharon, can you get 1 Corinthians 15?
God, 29 and what? Two?
Yeah, I think it's 2.
God. This is Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn.
Khan, it's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sight. And you're gonna have streets made of gold, the gates made of precious stones, and everyone's smiling. You got people walking around with everlasting life. You got chariots, you got wisdom, knowledge, understanding, fruit growing in abundance, a sweet smell through the land. Random birds ain't just dropping out of the sky. People not flying around dumping chemicals on people. You don't have the rumors and wars and the different hatred, and you don't have these curses on you no more. It's actually going to be beautiful. Like when Solomon reigned, even the servants was glad to be there. You had pigs walking around with gold in their nose. It's going to be so, bro. It's going to be so beautiful. Even our enemies, even our slaves and our servants, they're going to be like, this is busting. I wouldn't want it to be any other way.
That's what life's about.
You know, well, it don't get no better than this, huh? Damn right. You know what I'm saying? This is what we striving for. This is why we study the Bible. This is why we believe in God. We foresee the things that, because he showed them to us, of course, but we see the near future, man. We hoping for something better. We striving for the truth unto death, man. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Captain DeBar, you got anything you want to add before I close this?
Lie.
All right, Con. Can you call Jeremiah, because I actually need him to
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, Con. All right, it's on you, officer.
God, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 58. It says, therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, for as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord.
Con. Everybody be steadfast, be unmovable, always trying to abound in the works of the Lord. Make sure you constantly giving him your attention to the best of your abilities. You throwing up prayers every day. If you're not already taking part in this, every day, all the members of Sons of Jacob, we throw up a prayer at 3 p.m. because them prayers get taken up to the Most High God right after you're done. That is that hour of prayer. Throw it up with us, Baba Kasha. Pray for us. You know, if it's something you need prayer for, call the chat. Get them to, hey, if there's certain things you want to add to our list of prayer, by all means, get in contact with us. It's a beautiful thing. It's going to put your spirit on fire. That's the truth. And you do these things, not just going through the motion, but because you know that it's a reward. It's light at the end of that tunnel. So make sure you're striving for it. You're not walking, you're running at a good pace, as fast as you can, really. Make sure you can keep that up for the rest of your life, though. Khan, this is Sirach chapter 43 and verse 30. It says, when you glorify the Lord, exalt him as much as you can, for even yet will he far exceed. And when you exalt him, put forth all your strength, and be not weary, for you can never go far enough. And with that, call out Yahweh Bahashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shah. Like General Hezekiah always say, never forget, death to America,